Excuse me, it's early, so gotta check my voice. So what we have here is we have a higher time frame. We bullishly moved up into this area and filled in these IPAs. I'm kind of watching what's gonna happen when it gets down to this hourly candle here, where I think people are trailing their stops. Also, maybe this one too. And these are both good targets. I'm not convinced this thing's done going higher. I think some of this may just be people closing their positions. It really is going to take a lot for me to switch my bias to being bearish, considering the aggressiveness. So yeah, we're just waiting for this to get hit. Waiting for this to get hit. And then we'll see what happens after that. I imagine this last little bit of IPA is going to get filled in at some point. And so that's for EU. And then US30 is just running highs like a madman. I mean, I see this as a liquidity point. There's lots of IPAs all day long just based on the close of the previous day. We've got some IPA in here kind of on a higher time frame. I don't think I actually went in and looked at any of this, but yeah, this is, my God, that was a complete imbalance of price action. So you've got like this big chunk. Let's be fair, like all this is pretty solid in IPA. So yeah, it's a little wild there. What do you want, Tito? Trying to do my thing here. So I know that everybody thinks these are magnets, but like obviously price has a goal to get higher, and it might be up here or here today. So I'm looking at where can it come back and pretend to touch or take out before it moves up. This one's really tricky just because you have such a big bearish candle, so I expect a deeper kind of pull, maybe even tap just this one before it comes back. So I'm just being cautious. I'm waiting for structure to form before I go long. And then this one's the same thing. I'm gonna put an alert here. That seems like a good target, and then let me know when this gets hit too. Just kind of watch it and see. Oh, yes. Here we go. Oh, now we're starting to see. You can see the demand coming back in. This is good. This is what I like to see. Alright, welcome everybody. Hopefully I got my mic issue fixed yesterday. I realized I was actually recording two different microphones at the same time, which is why it was all echoey and weird. One thing I want to point out is we're at the very top of like a Elliott wave type thing here. You can see this like head and shoulders pattern form. So a lot of people were selling this neckline. So I imagine their stop losses are up here. So this would be my next target. Going long. And you might look at this and say, why the hell would you go long? And you're right. Why would I go long right now? I wouldn't. But I do see the demand coming back in, like down here at the bottom. You can see it kind of drop off here, and then a nice little push here. Haven't broken this hourly candle yet, which is probably why we're getting hung up. I expect fully to break that and possibly this one, but I would love to see like a little bounce and then a crash and then something that gives me confidence to go long, to attack these highs up here. Right now I really don't see anything, so we'll just keep it at that. And then over here on US30, we've been running highs, leaving IPAs behind all day long. So that means probably there's a target up here it wants to get to before it even bothers filling anything in. So that target could be, it could be any of these really. So we just have to kind of assume, at some point you're going to get sellers that come in and grab some liquidity here, and in the process of doing that, leave behind structure. And then when it does that and breaks structure with higher volume, I'm just going to get involved with that. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on. I got my alerts set. I don't really care too much about the top. I won't be setting an alert here just because, I don't know, it's not that interesting when the highs get broken. What did that tell you? So that's about it. I'm going to pause my recording and I'll be back if anything pops up. But today might be a slow day. I might be sitting on my hands. Oh, why is my video capture device? Hello. You little cocksucker. That would have been fucking perfect right there. Look at that. You can see it right there. I missed that. And then boom. Damn. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said, no way. Watch this candle. This is the one. This is the hourly candle. You know, with all this demand in it. That's why we're getting a little bounce back here. Would you look at that? Alright. We've got, I mean, it looks like we pushed up here to take the high. That took some serious buying potential. I'm thinking I'm a little bit more inclined with, because look at this. This is impulsive. This is a flag, and this is a flag. So I'm like, are we getting up here where maybe it's time to run these lows down here? That's what I'd like to see, but I guarantee you the top gets manipulated before it does that. So I don't know. We'll see. We got a lot of pit stops here too to clean up. I think many people would agree this was a nice little breakout though. But we'll see what it wants to do. I mean, are you gonna tell me this is fake? Maybe. Someone tells me we're just gonna keep running highs today. Excuse me. I believe this one right here was one I shut down a little bit early. Let's go back in and look at my TradeZella. Definitely took profit too soon. Definitely followed my rules. You fucking dummy. I mean, I know that. Now we're creating some structure. This is what I was waiting for. Oh yeah, this is alright, so there's that one. There was this one, which I bought and got taken out right before the... So what would be my mistake here? My mistake was impulsive. I win. I mean, I considered this one to be like what was happening, and then I saw the break here, so I just wanted to grab that. Uh-huh. This is definitely like a beautiful thing. I still want to see it take that bottom. Anyway. Got that one. What was this one? Oh yeah. This one was fine. I was following rules. The counter trend probably was the main one. My instincts were right about buying, but that was just the... Because, like, what happened after that trade? And I was like... You can see my instincts were right, but the bias was... And then once it broke through there, that's when the sells happened, right? So that was... Oh my god. Oh, I'm a shitbag. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make you some coffee now. If you want to get one. 4 minutes. Yeah, that's gonna take some time. Yeah. Alright, that's... uh-huh. I want to see this thing pulls back to the side. Oh, it's perfect. This is where I'm looking to sell from today. Alright, so depending on what this looks like, I may sell from here today. But it's gonna take a while to get. It's got a flag up there. Yeah, we'll see. It's good to know. That's my 78. And then this is my liquidity point.
Not an undisclosed location.
Right, so I'm gonna send you, and then we'll use that.
Franco heard me complaining a lot about the lack of office space, and he has this secret office.
I just have this feeling. Call it a hunch.
Eats jam. Can you jump on that?
Okay.
And I will let the people know that.
Hmm.
Is now joining.
Oh, they're joining. It'll turn. They're up there now. They're up there now.
Oh, I'll turn off on.
Maybe. Now it started, which is more. I think it's slowly, right? Because it shows that you're not muted.
Oh, you're muted here now.
Yep.
No, I'm moved like watch. I go. Oh.
That's okay.
Oh my God.
Now we've got reason.
I hear nobody now.
There we go. Can you hear us now?
I hear you now.
Okay, hold up.
That's gonna not give us anything for a while, so we'll take that.
So what is it? There we go.
I hear you now.
Maybe we need to mute have the agenda in front of you. My role is going to be moderator and facilitator of the meeting. So I will make sure I keep us on time, that I'm taking notes, and that we get to the objectives that we have for the meeting and cooperating some actionable items. So I'll keep us right with those 30-minute or 50-minute or whatever time frames that I've built in here in the agenda. You all have the agenda, right, Mike? Okay. So we have the agenda in front of you, and then I'm just going to hand it over to
the increase in each of these levels shows the number of tests increase in 3rd through 5th grade. Then in the middle, from 6th through 8th grade, where you see our largest growth, and then our growth in the number of EOCs administered for spring testing. Very rapid growth over these 4 years as schools are coming online and reaching a maturity of K-12. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is in our growing pains over in the organization. These are our projections. I'll leave it up on screen just a little bit. I've got both numerical values and letter values for you. And so let's take that in a little bit.
What has happened to the roughly to the state distribution of A's, B's, and C's over the last 3 years?
They have declined with the new framework. Basically, we renormed down to a C so that there would be space to
When did that?
that happened in the 2023
Go from 23 to 24?
Yeah. So all 2023, I believe, was the first the new cycle.
So the renorm was 22 to 23?
Yeah.
Okay, so the split from 23 to 25 can't be explained by renorming.
No, it's not the renorming that did this, but the renorming made it more challenging to stay in certain places because of how it's very complicated. So to quote my analytics professor, if you're a Greyhound, you're looking for an A, get ready to make a B. If you're a B student, get ready to make a C. That was what we were warned in 2022 going into the 2023 year. And this was to make C a meaningful average score for the state.
Texas did course distributions. Some percent test at A, B, C.
No, every school can get an A if every school met the criteria. So there's no force distribution on it. It's the way the calculations are made. There's a strong push towards the B's.
Right, so they don't change the cut scores every year.
Uh,
I mean, they set it then in
Right.
2023.
That was actually
we have the same cut
that's
scores.
the reason why it's harder to get the A. In the past 2 cycles of revamping of accountability, there's been a 3-year onboarding phase where the cut scores are dropped and then raised towards the goal. The feedback from districts was they didn't like that the goal post moved every year.
Oh, I can't do that.
And so then
So that first B for Arlington would be that 80. The C would be the 70, and then the third C. So it's the value
Right.
for 2023. The domain value is what we need to get to. I don't know. It's okay. The one that looks kind of scary for me is Prairie View, but then again, remember their first year they only had C3, and it was just like a class for each or two classes. When I went to that building, I thought we're only students. They said this is it. So just pointing that out because now you'll go and have a way more full campus. So
I'm sorry to ask this a second time. I didn't understand the answer. What do those numbers mean?
So the numbers are the scaled score. So you get your raw score based on your average approaches, meets, and master's level, and then that is scaled up to a 100-point scale. So an 80 on the graph is a B, a 75 is a C, standard kind of letter grades.
I'm sorry to ask that a second time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is overall accountability. This is all areas together.
So, okay. And so it doesn't correlate in any particular way to meets or masters or anything like that.
This is not directly to meets masters because it's all three domains. We got the list of domains. Yeah.
Right, 70% of that score is made, right? Is it 70%?
Right.
Is made up of that.
Right.
The actual achievement on
Yeah.
a star or.
Yeah. So I've got a slide that's a brief guide. So I thought I'd start with these are the grades, and then this is how we get to them. So this is our general accountability formula. We've got a 70% plus a 30%. Under the 70%, you have three different ways you can earn your points. The first is student achievement, and for our schools that don't have a graduating class, it's 100% your star scores. Once you get that 12th grade class, your test accountability comes from the STAR and the SAT math score for your accelerated testers. Those students who took for 1 and 8th grade, their SAT counts in the test domain as well. Below that, you also see that 40% comes from your CCMR. So the students who meet the benchmark requirements, either showing college readiness on the SAT, getting an industrial certification, or joining the military. So they're part of the rating here as well, and then also graduation rate. So if you look at what's happening for our three mature campuses and what's going to be happening very soon in the next 2 years for our second generation campuses, you're going to have over 60% of domain 1 is going to come from their seniors.
And
Unless domain 2 is
Right.
better.
So domain 1 will still be scored, right? That's part of the beauty of the system is whether or not you have an A doesn't mean you hide these three domains. Like all of this is
All of them will be sure.
will be shown, but your overall score as a campus, your overall score as a district is the better of achievement or one of the progress measures.
real quick, Michael,
But they have
once we
three
have
grades.
seniors, we're gonna double count SAT, am I understanding that? SAT will count in that STAR plus SAT bucket and the CCMR bucket?
Right. The so that SAT math score is converted to an approaches meets masters and folded in, so it doesn't have as much of a weight. And since these are accelerated testers coming back one more time, there's actually a good chance that their SAT score will improve math scores on total. Right? Because the students that struggled in math aren't the ones whose SAT counts. So there's a little bit of a cherry picking there.
Can I ask a
So-
question about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so is this decided on a district level? So would all of your schools across the whole region be graded based on, for example, domain 2 generally is better plus domain 3, so then that's how every school makes their score, or is this individual by campus? Like, would a school that doesn't maybe have a lot of growth, but they have high achievement, they use domain 1 plus domain 3, but then a school who's seeing a lot of growth and that's their better score gets that version of the calculation, and then you have to put it together at somehow that becomes a district score?
Right. So after you have your domain 1 and domain 2 decision for each campus, that ratio for how many points that campus earns and what portion of the district that campus represents. So a Northern Oaks K-12 has more weight than a Monte Vista South on the district accountability, but the determinations are made on campus.
And it's a good time to point out why we're really having a hard time breaking it into upper and lower. Because those decisions have been made for the entire K-12 at those schools. And so we're really going to have to spend a ton of time to get in there to see how well we could kind of try to eyeball which we think would be better. We tried to look, but it's really hard to figure out things that are compared to stick to. So
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the number of variables in this calculation when you're trying to also find trends at a regional level. So
Sure.
yes,
That is
we need a lot more time.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're trying to play money ball or identify high leverage, like, it's especially hard for you two, because we have 600 to 700 kids in lower school versus 600 to 500 in upper school. So, domain 1 and 2, I would think it's really fair to try to decide between those two, or figure out where we'll land.
Well, it's hard to predict where you're going to be, but the good news is that focusing on student achievement increases both.
Exactly.
Right? So
But you can be strategic though, because I know like a few years ago with Western Hills, we really looked into the students that needed to show that growth. I know whenever Manila gets us and had master sheets, I'd give me the list, and I'm going to make sure that we have groups for each of our teachers and interventionists to focus on. So for our AIP school, sometimes it might be best to also look into those students, provide them with those lists so that we're strategic and who we're working with.
Pull those lists from last year.
Michael, could you talk a little bit more about the difference between 2A and 2B?
Certainly. One of the statements schools have made is, well, it's hard for us to achieve because I just came into a hot mess and we're turning things around. So I would really like to say my students are growing. 2A measures individual student growth on kind of the following rubric. For math and reading, which are the only ones that are taken every year sequentially, you have to have a prior score. So third grade does not get growth. Starting in fourth grade, you get a point if you are moving upwards towards eights. So if you're in does not approach or approaches, and you move up one of the hexagonal levels, even from does not approach low to does not approach high. Like you don't even have to pass the test to get a point. You can show progress and count those points together and get there. If you're at eights, you don't have to achieve masters to get your point. At eights and masters, maintenance is still counted as being your growth. And then just to sweeten the pot, if you are in the does not approach category and you pass, if you get 2 approaches, you get a bonus point in the growth calculation. So you get a number straight in the numerator. It does not go to the denominator, so it's just 3 points on top of your growth. Compare that, people say, well, you didn't achieve, and my students are having trouble growing, but it's because of the populations that I'm serving. 2B compares your domain 1 performance to other schools based on your economic Hispanic population. So you're compared to schools with a similar economic advantage, and then you have to outscore them to get your points in 2B. So you've got those 3 ways of showing that you're a strong school that's on the right path. Faster than those with the same resource, students are growing, or students are achieving. And all 3 of these metrics really are built around the idea of getting students to their needs level, not approaches. You have to get up to needs to get the average.
So I think I want to understand
need to see.
Sorry, Mike, did you want Bo to talk again, or Michael Lindo?
I was
I heard Michael great. I just didn't hear the conversation that followed on.
My question was just, what are the skins that are gonna bring us in the most points by moving them? I mean, we always kind of think there's some obvious answers, but if there's a list that 2 years ago we found was helpful, who were the kids on that list? And what was the criteria for making that list? So we can make that list, and so I understand better that it changes year to year.
And the campus will know. That's the thing. They need to know who the students are, and the communication there is not saying we only focus on these students, right? But those extra services that we're providing, what interventions they're pulling out and whatnot, who are we being intentional with, right?
And would that portion come in the third and the fourth part of the agenda?
Yeah, great.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
So your best of those three, that counts for 70%. Every school is scored on closing the gaps, and this is trying to ensure that we have equity across underserved demographics and special populations. I've broken down what the categories are. I've got a slide on each of these domains below for the good of the order. But they have to be scoring at meets. Hitting 100% special ed to approaches does not meet the goal. They have to be a certain percentage at the meets level to get ones and over through.
Well, I imagine we'll come back to asking clarifying questions throughout.
Sure.
But I think that's really good point.
Okay. All right. So this is how we broke down for domain 1 student achievement. You'll notice a vacuous hole for 2024 in Texas. This was my first year trying to calculate. I did the best I could. But you can see the letter scores and the numeric scores for domain 1 student achievement. Mr. Austin, this is the slide that is most directly tied to STAR. And so if you think that what a 90 represents is roughly an equal distribution, 90% it approaches, 60% it meets, 30% it masters. Any additional point at masters offsets a loss at approaches.
So the 23, 24, 25, our mature campuses, this achievement also reflects their SAT and CCMR.
Right, their SAT and CCMR is also in there as well.
And we didn't always take advantage of CCMR.
Oh, no.
Okay, this we don't need to elaborate. Just, yeah.
Michael, can you repeat what you just said about approaches and masters?
And so the way you calculate the raw score is you get 1 point if you achieve at approaches. You get 2 points for meets, and you get 3 points for masters. If you had a school that was just evenly divided, 1/3 at each level, 30% at each level, reserving 10% because you will have outliers. That averages to a raw score of 60. A raw score 60 in domain 1 translates to an A. So if you think about the more students you get at meets, you're reducing the number of students you have to offset with master's performance. So it really is designed to favor getting more students to meets instead of trying to get 50% to masters and leaving 55% to language. Right? You want to get more students centered on that meets criteria.
Michael, is a favorite way of saying the formula. The numerator is what you just described in terms of points, and the denominator is the number of students times 2.
The denominator is the number of students.
Okay. So that'll get you a number greater than 1. It'll get a number close to 2. And any value in the 2 range is an A then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Towards that. Okay. So you can see a little bit of slip kind of across the network with some rebounds at Lakeside and Western Hills kind of turning the corner this year.
Okay, so this is straight up just
I
the
gotcha.
percent that meets or exceeds. We were able to get all the tests together, 3 through 8, and of course, and then look at the schools. This is all of the grade
Consider
F
now.
schools. The light is in dark blue. The light blue
White brain
is
is fresh.
the state's region 20. So that's who we're compared to overall when they just say the district, even though some schools are out of district. And then orange is all of 10. They've got math and science on the left and reading and social studies on the left.
But
Yeah.
are you sure there's 4 clusters per box? Is that 22?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the keys at the very bottom. But I wish I could figure out how to reproduce it in the middle. No, you're perfect. I wish we could figure out a way to say please put it in the middle too.
Question. So for math, that's including lower and upper school, all math,
That's
right?
all.
Yes.
It'd be interesting if there's a way to even see that through like lower school and upper school, because I know normally our DOT are the ones that are.
I can do that right now, and we don't have a slide for it.
No,
It's
yeah.
literally there now, and a little party I will be looking at it, like now,
Before we like could separate
because
it,
it
that'd
would
be.
not ever, like, the curriculum. Yeah, so we could separate everything now, so you can pick that you want 3 through 8, and non-include algebra, or you can say 3 through 8 in algebra, so that you're looking at middle school, which we couldn't do with the way the data comes out of state. So now we've manipulated it, so we can. Not mention it.
Yeah, so this is both in the state. Okay, so this is region 10. Region 10 is where our urban campuses are located.
It's the same idea. We probably don't need to really even talk to it. We just, the next 3 slides,
Oh.
that is just the Great Hearts region specific schools compared to the state's region, compared to Great Hearts, Texas overall, compared to Texas. I'm sorry.
So region, what were we before? What was the previous slide?
Region 20.
But it would,
Which is what?
it'll be more confusing because then even have another slide that says region 20, which is only the schools that are really in region 20.
So
Oh, I understand. Okay.
for the next slides, the gold bar is going to be Great Hearts schools in an area of the state compared to Great Hearts, compared to the region they're in, and compared to the state.
Wow, okay.
So
Oh, Irving.
Are you talking about only Irving upper and lower, right? That's it, those 2 schools. That's it, those 3.
Alright, so we should have to get to like each individual campus in the next 15 minutes, so I just want to make sure each individual campus performance and loading.
Some slides that we write and the schools listed on this.
Okay. So this is region 11. Region 11 includes Arlington, Lakeside, and Prairie View, our second generation of organized schools. So they're the gold bar. The dark blue is Great Hearts, Texas, all combined. And then we've got region 11 and the state.
That's probably just stuff we can look at closer, late, right?
Right.
Just way in my now.
Yeah. In region 20, which is where we're housed, you can see in all 4 the region 20 schools outperform region 20 in every area. Maybe not by the margin we would like, but they do outperform. Also, you'll notice that I could have done a blue border around here as well, because Great Hearts, Texas outperforms region 20 and the states at every level. We didn't outperform region 11 and region 10 in some instances. So that's domain 1 comparing. Here's our domain 2 school progress. Here's where you see that soft underbelly, where we have some weaknesses and where we're seeing things that are below a C creep into the grades we're achieving. So you can see the slide even in our A campuses like Irving Upper and at Montes to South, you can see there's not as much stability at maintaining a school progress. I've got a slide for how the numbers calculated. So most of us gotta wash over. This is domain 2A. You can see the trend line is running an average between the reading and math performance. see it's a fairly linear graph. It's just my scale of the bottom is not
Sorry, Michael, what is this telling me? This is telling me each school from lowest to highest in student growth.
Yeah, each school, lowest to highest, did they meet their growth in reading? Did they meet their growth in math? And then you got the average, which is the number that is used to calculate. So the gray line is where they fell for school progress. And you can see that it's an average between reading and math. You can see how much math brings down the growth in reading.
Which that line is in schools.
So this is the average between reading and math. So it's not the trend line was I was trying to show the average between the two. It's not that
It might be percent, right, just like a.
Yeah. The red bar at the top is closer to the bar where we want the number to be to get that scale so we're going to gain. So we need to get more growth in both areas.
Like of the yellows, blues, and
Yellows and blues, this is indicating whether they earned their point here or not. I believe the yellows are the ones who earned their score through student growth. And Monte Vista scored the same on 2A and 2B. They scored an A on both. This was the best visual I could come up with for relative performance. The number across the bottom is our EURUSD percentage for each campus. The score on the left is the STAR and 60-mile performance. So you can see how schools are stacking up. The schools in yellow are the ones that receive their going to score from Part B. So we've got a table that shows both together. And Monte Vista is in a separate column because, again, the score was the same for both. To help illustrate Northern Oaks, Western Hills, and Arlington with their relative achievements wound up at the same
So when I saw it in the Lego box, I knew I had to use it because
with
Oh, hell yeah.
so hard to find this.
so we lost almost
I wasn't even looking for
equivalent
it.
points to students falling to approaches or falling to meets as we gained from students going up as an approach to approach. So getting all students to meets, providing intervention and support at the top and to ensure that they maintain their performance. That is really one of the big keys. Lose the wins. Your prior
Piece can go in there.
That's a district trend. Do we have campus? Campus loading?
So for each campus below, on the
Nice.
slide, I do have a globe and some rows to say where the pockets of need are.
So let's go through those slides and what else? First,
Yeah.
the goals.
Go to bars anytime. Good.
So start with urban lower side. I group these by our C schools, low B, and then our higher performing schools. So for urban lower, you can see. So I tried to color code in the background. We've got some low components at masters. You really see the gap grow at meets in both math and reading and in math in fourth grade. Also in reading at fourth grade, so really low masters performance in reading, and that set them up for to really get down their achievement. So getting students to masters in reading, getting students to meets in math. Those would be the two goals that I was going to put there. Science, it's science. It doesn't affect as many different points in accountability, but it is also a place where getting more students to master in science would offset some challenges with mathematics.
I know we're struggling to get the data in a useful format, so I think we've got some great work to do, but were we able to get at the one lower level?
I was not able to get there in time.
And Heather, to note on the urban lower right DM plan, they're starting to do more of that peaks alignment as well. So they weren't doing that, and they're now they're changing the curriculum, so Cammy's been right now quicker. I know that's good help.
I would have thought just a minute. Quantitative, I think speed 60/30 in a way that I understood. Can you just briefly explain your vision as you've been working with AIP schools on what does that mean for a school to make?
achievers here continue to get everyone else to that level. But when we don't have RDs and masters, I always ask the admin, like, what does instruction look like in the classroom? Because if we're not even at least or master for most of our students, are we lowering the expectation? Because many times teachers will say, my students are still not effective. Well, yes, that's what we provide interventions, right? When in class, we need to provide at least grade level, if not higher. And we've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it. So,
Now, I feel like this meeting is for the overall and not the campus specific, so I feel like maybe we come back, you and I come back and talk about this campus specific based on the slides. One thing I wanna highlight is that growth, that domain 3 should be our bread and butter, or 2, I mean, and should be our bread and butter, especially in our Title I schools. The fact that they're not getting the kids to grow they should be. If I look at our Maryville school, its growth is what it's in there. I mean, it has higher growth than any other one of those schools. So that's something that we think about as a network. We need to start to improve in this domain, in these 2 domains.
And one of the things that I would add in there, provide them the lists. That's what they're needing. If we don't have the list, then they don't know who those students are, and they're going based on just maybe some assessment data. But if they actually know these are the students that need to show that growth, we saw it. I mean, my first week working at Great Hearts, I did it at Arlington, and as soon as I went into the science classroom, the teacher was calling on the students that I had just asked her about, and I said, these are the ones that need to show more growth. So she was intentional because she knew.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's the targeted support. I think our challenge is mindset. When I walk into these campuses, all I start to hear is my kids can't do it, they're not able to do it. Right? I have a different population, and they're being measured by other schools that have the same population, right? They need to change the mindset, and that's what we've done with those teachers, and we've tried to as school leaders, but I think that's the push.
That's where the domain 2B helps us make that argument.
Yep.
Okay, you say students, well, other people are reading with the same population.
And masters will come first. I feel like headmasters especially were the headmasters and exploit the one going into 3.
I think some of them speak to it with greater degrees of mastery than others. That whether or not it's been explained, I think it's been explained, but I don't know that it's landed for every one of them or prioritized the same way.
I wouldn't click on headmaster. I never heard of it. All I got was the listings. And they've been this for long enough to say this is what I'm just saying, maybe the buying may not be there because there's volumes and more clarity. Or people who are wrong numbers and they say we do better than last year. So I do want to interrupt this slide. One thing I want to make sure we all understand is that meets is where the state of Texas actually wants the kids. They want them at that meets level. I think a lot of our master state approaches is passing, and then they're good if they have the kids in approaches. That's not good. We want the kids in approaches. So Michael, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so again, like we said at the outset, growth is centered on a needs target. So if you're in approaches or does not approach, you get points for getting closer to needs.
I got some already made.
At needs, you can stay there and earn your point. So what I did was I counted the number of points, and it makes me nervous that it hit an even 12,000, but that's what I counted with the data I had. We had 12,000 available growth points, and we had 2015 available bonus points. So 2015 students in math and reading, they could earn a bonus point by moving from unapproached to approaches. Out of those 2 buckets of points, we got 68% of our growth points. We only got 39% conversion on our bonus points. So 39% of students moved from does not approach to approaches. I would see the breakdown. Reading is the only place where we got about 70% of our available growth points. Math was 10% lower at 62%. Those gains that we got in growth, so we did have gains, but we dropped a lot of points from both dropped 1 level or 2 levels or 3 levels in accountability. And this is out of a hexile rations, 6 levels, masters, meets, approaches high, approaches low, does not approach high, does not approach low. It's a hexile breakdown, and moving 1 hexile earns the 1.
ended up taking this one. I know it was super risky, but
There were some reflections from Cammy, my
so I ended up taking this one. I know it was super risky. Let me show you what I got.
questions you have.
A smaller order. I know these candles are driving up high, but one of the reasons I jumped in was because I mean, we're just so close to that hourly candle, which was an MC, and these candles don't have a lot behind them, and now we're starting to paint these red candles here. It just, I could easily get taken out. In fact, I should have waited for price to come back up here and test the top, but you know, we'll see what happens. Not a big order, you know, like
So I sent out
it's just
overview to everybody
it was high enough that
so that's something
I was comfortable taking a short position just in case this thing comes down. And you know, we've got a nice little like 3-to-1 if this thing actually turns around. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Small risk, high reward. But we'll see. I'm above the 78 of this leg, which is why I was comfortable taking it. And this is for sure an MC candle. So that's kind of where I'm at now. If this thing starts to pull down, I'll move my stop, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Like this is where I should be entering.
There's a lot of factors going in here. So how does that 42% here translate to that overall equation?
So I was just a little bit impatient. But my stop will protect me, and if this gets taken out, man, I guess I read the market wrong today. So we'll see what happens.
Overall question. A smaller question.
But that's it for now.
Do any campuses still not have graduating classes? Like, aren't some campuses, they don't even have seniors yet, so they wouldn't have that CCMR data or graduation rate data or any of that. And so do we anticipate any of those scores changing once they do have graduating classes? Like, would they switch maybe from a domain 2 score to a domain 1 score in their overall calculation?
Right. So, I mean, the way it's going to be calculated for this year is locked because they did not have a graduating class this year, right? But this is the first year graduating class for Western Hills, Forest Heights.
Everybody except in Texas and Prairie, right?
So as
this
those
is
get graduating classes, that will affect the way STAR has on their accountability. And so we've got some of those into that. I tried to focus as much as I could around the STAR data here because it's in our mass for most students being served.
Yeah, I think the priority should be on making sure students are growing and learning and achieving, right? But I'm also wondering, like, the numbers game of just
Yep,
not
so
having that
it looks like our hourly candle was taken out, which is fine. Like, I honestly was not,
I'm sure.
I was not, what's the word? I was not being cautious on this one. And so, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to move this here, you know. I was fighting the trend this whole time, hoping for a nice sell position, but really I had several opportunities to get long in this, and I didn't use them, even though this is showing us super long bias. So that one's on me, you know. So we'll see if this hourly candle was the target, which it sure looks like it was. I mean, it got hit already, so if I see a break of structure here, because this is my structure, then I'll be inclined to enter short again. You've got some IPA here, maybe a little bit here, but yeah, I need to see it on the higher time frame. So that's about all I got right now.
But that kills, right? Like, I didn't want to roll it up so that we could see whatever level we can get to, the deepest we get to, the highest we get to say, man, it looks like it's number sense over statistics or something. We're going to try to get there first and then keep going to what levels we can. And and at the campus level, and then the grade level within the campus that you could drill and say something, it's just percent. Did you decide the right metric as a reporting category? The percent they got the middle ground, the percent they got the high, or something. Get those somewhere into a couple pager where we say.
So I just put something in the chat to performance friends document or spreadsheets that he got it from Michael. I mean Monet got it from Michael. It's gonna give you some just easy data to kind of look through by school. So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. You know, get coffee, whatever you need to, then we'll come back and start maybe to dig into some of that data and by anything you all see. Okay, thanks. Is anybody coming down?
Oh, I can show you where I know where it is. I can do it. Really good badge, thank you.
Why we're not looking at this? This is way better data.
Go straight.
Why is Irving so bad at science?
You're looking at Irving lower
Um,
or Irving upper?
I was actually looking at. I was just thinking about Michael Linville's slides. That was the thing that like was really shocking to me in all the data. Everything was relatively, and we beat the state in everything in every region all the time, with some exceptions. But then science we were like at 5% in North Texas.
I think it's Irving lower, not upper. If I'm looking
Yeah,
at the
I think it
right.
is.
Yeah. Also, Irving upper 8th grade math says 100% of the students did not approach on this other chart. I like this spreadsheet.
Wait, where did you see that? Oh, school by subject?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, part of Irving lower, I wonder if it's a curricular alignment thing. I don't actually know what they were using for science there. Yeah, so I don't know, it's a great question. They're kind of a black box, the past few years for me.
The slightly cleaner case of here before.
Okay, so then it's
You should see that in which ones.
audio too.
Not audio because this mic, when it's on, we can hear, like, if there was, like,
Oh,
yeah.
can they hear y'all?
No, they can't. When we, this one, sure.
Oh, somebody has their computer on. Their speaker.
So, like, when I was on muted, there's, like, the volume of this volume.
I think that's because the reason you got 100%
We have to lower this volume. They're
in
talking
North
so
Coast
close.
is because they actually don't take that 8th grade math test. In the 8th grade they take the EOC Algebra 1 test. Is Quinn still here?
Honey, you're being asked something.
I'm assuming not. She's not one to ignore people.
Honey, you're being asked something. Oh. I don't know. They were asking about something with curriculum.
Somebody asked me a question. I was just getting more coffee.
Right, I was just explaining the 100% not passing grade 8 math at Irving Upper
Alright, so I broke into rules today, so I'm actually going to stop trading after this. And that's just, sometimes a little bit of tilt kicks in, and that's just what happens. So I'm going to take myself a break, and that's about it. Peace. Yeah, it does.
Brandon is not supposed to be in this meeting.
Is now exiting.
Now I know what Brandon is.
I know what?
That was coming through Mike Austin's computer. So I was like, why do I hear Brandon's voice?
Is he in like two meetings simultaneously or something?
No, he's just like in a room somewhere that Brandon must have walked into. Meeting is
Is now joining.
There we go. Can you guys hear us? Somebody's computer.
Somebody's feeding back really bad.
Yes, whenever you just switch to, the sound quality is a lot worse though.
No, this was like a big risk, high reward type thing, moving counter trend against the current trend. What I did was I knew this hourly candle was probably the target, and it was sitting at the 78%, and this made a bypass pattern.
Okay.
I really like bypass patterns.
Michael, will you
If this thing paints a nice deep candle here, I'll just move my stop loss to break even and let it ride for the rest of the day. Other than that, I'm done. I can't. Obviously, like, if I stop following rules, then I need to stop trading. So that's how it goes.
you want to get from here? Can you guys hear us now?
Yes, and that sound quality is a lot better. Thank you.
Mute that. Oh no, you're. Oh no, that one's fine. It's okay. The quality has to come from that one. Oh, it's okay. Thanks, Crystal.
So I finished that one with a loss. And I'm done for the day because, like I said, following rules is super important. And if you can't do it, you need to cut yourself off. So I'm doing that. Bye.